Tasmania has a way of surprising you. We started the morning at Hobart's famous Salamanca Market, and by sunset, we were standing on the sea cliffs watching oystercatchers search for food in fading light. In between, abandoned prisons, historic ruins, and some birds we never expected to find. And somehow it still wasn't the highlight of our trip. Every Saturday morning, Salamanca Place transforms into Tasmania's most well-known markets. Local produce, handmade crafts, street food, live music. There's a bit of everything here. If you're visiting Hobart on a Saturday, this is definitely worth stopping by. With Mount Wellington rising behind the city, it's probably one of the best places to experience Hobart before heading out onto the road. And on a clear day, the mountain almost feels like it's watching over the entire waterfront. By the afternoon, we arrived at Port Arthur Historic Site. Originally established as a penal settlement in the 1830s, this place once housed some of the British Empire's most hardened convicts. We came here expecting history, not wildlife. But Tasmania had other plans. We arrived a little later than planned, around 3 p.m. And with the final ferry leaving at 4:30, we quickly realized we wouldn't have enough time to explore everything. So we focused on a few of the major buildings before the site closed for the evening. The museum gives a scaled overview of the entire settlement, and seeing how large Port Arthur once really puts things into perspective. Towering over the waterfront, the penitentiary is probably the most recognizable structure here. Even from a distance, the scale of it is hard to ignore. And then, almost immediately, we notice movement in the shallow water nearby. A white-faced heron slowly stalking fish through the canal. Inside the commandant's house, the contrast was striking. While convicts lived in harsh prison conditions, senior officers lived with a level of comfort that feels worlds apart from the rest of the settlement. Behind the penitentiary, near the Paupers Depot and the old Asylum grounds, the atmosphere started to change. The crowds thinned out, and the ruins slowly gave way to trees and dense coastal vegetation. That's where we started noticing birds everywhere. For the first time, we spotted Tasmania's Yellow Wattlebird, Australia's largest honey eater, and probably one of the loudest birds we'd heard on the trip so far. But the biggest surprise was the Scarlet Robin, tiny, bright red, and completely unfazed by us standing nearby. Every few seconds it would drop down into the grass searching for food, before returning to the exact same perch again. The bushes around the old asylum were full of movement, superb fairy-wrens darting through the undergrowth, while eastern spinebills moved between flowers feeding on nectar. Moments like this are easy to miss if you rush through places like Port Arthur. As the afternoon light started fading, we made our way through the hospital ruins before heading into the separate prison. Designed for psychological punishment rather than physical labor, prisoners here were often kept in near total isolation. Before leaving Port Arthur, we took the final ferry around the harbour, passing old shipbuilding areas, workers' cottages, and the Isle of Dead. More than 1,000 people were buried on this small island alone. Further along stood Point Pure, the British Empire's first prison built specifically for boys. These unusual rock patterns formed over thousands of years as salt, water, and erosion slowly cracked the surface into geometric shapes. Out in the distance, the Hippolyte rocks rise straight from the ocean, with surprisingly rich marine life hidden beneath the surface. Down by the shoreline, two Sooty Oystercatchers searched the rocks as light began disappearing. Most likely a parent and juvenile, moving carefully between the waves looking for shellfish. Eventually, one managed to pull something free from the rocks, probably a mussel. Just before dark, we stopped one last time at Eaglehawk Neck Lookout, a New Holland honeyeater feeding quietly beside the coast. A little wattlebird disappearing into the flowering wattles nearby. By the time we left the Tasman Peninsula, it was almost completely dark. We headed back exhausted. But Tasmania still had one more experience waiting for us.